Hello and welcome to finding the inverse of functions. And yeah, this process is pretty simple. It's just 4 steps. So if you can remember the 4 steps, then you just do it for every single problem that says find the inverse, and you should do it right. So let's do this. So first step of finding an inverse is replacing the function, which in this case is h of x, yeah, and replacing it with a letter y. That's all you have to do for step 1. So I'm just going to write step 1 as it's supposed to be written. So y equals 6 minus 5x over 3. So that's step 1. Yeah. So step 1 is simply getting the name of the function, which is h of x, and replacing it with y. Okay. Step 2, also pretty simple. You're just going to trade places. You're going to switch places with the x and the y. So you're not going to switch any numbers places. You're just going to switch the letters. So instead of writing a y, you're going to write an x, and then equals. And like I said, yeah, don't switch any numbers. Leave all the numbers in the exact same spot. Just switch the letters. Yeah. So notice how in this front spot there used to be a y. Now there's an x. In this spot right here there used to be a x. Now there's a y. So that's step 2. Okay. So the first 2 steps are pretty easy. Third step is going to take a little bit more work. And basically it's just solve for y, which means get it by itself. So right now we have 3 things attached to the y. We have a 6, we have a -5, and we have a 3. So basically, what order should we do to get this y by itself? Yeah. Okay, so let's get rid of, I guess, the thing that's making this problem look the ugliest in the first place, which is that 3 on the bottom. So what technique do you think we should use to get rid of this 3 on the bottom of the fraction on the right-hand side? Well, I hope you guys all said multiply by 3, because if you did, then that is perfectly correct. Okay, so we're going to multiply by 3. Yeah, so this is going to be a pretty big step 3. Yeah, it's not going to be something that's going to be done all in one swoop. Yeah, it's just going to be a couple of things. Yeah, slowly, right? Not rush things, not do too many things at the same time, because that's when mistakes are made. Just do things one at a time. Okay, so we got rid of the 3 on the bottom. So now which one do we think we should get rid of next? The 6 or the -5? Okay, and hopefully this time you say let's get rid of the 6. And how do we do that? Well, just how do I move this 6 to the other side? Well, since it's just a regular 6 that is unattached, yeah, it's not multiplied by anything, it's just adding and subtracting to other things, just going to subtract it away. So -6 on both sides. And don't mind my placing of the -6. I'm not saying that the 3x and the -6 are going to actually combine. They're not like terms, they're just going to stay separate, yeah? But since I was running out of space, I just put it right underneath. Okay, so now that my 6 has gone to the left side, now all I have left is the -5y on the right hand side. Okay, and what's going to be the technique that we use to get rid of that -5? Well, I hope you guys all say divide by -5, because if you did, then that is perfectly correct as well. So you go -5, you divide by it right here, divide by -5 there, and this step 3 is almost done. So we're going to get, so don't mind me, I'm going to put the y on the left side, yeah? That's just a preference thing for me. So y equals 3x minus 6 over -5. And different math teachers are going to tell you that they're going to accept different things. If you want to leave this negative on the bottom, you can leave the negative on the bottom. If you want to make the denominator a positive, which is some people's preference, then if you give the negative to the top, right? Think of it like distribution. Yeah, so if you can't just give the 3x a negative, you have to give the 3x and the -6 the negative, right? So that's where it's going to get a little tricky, and yeah, you might make a careless mistake if you just give 3x the negative. Yeah, so you got to remember, give 3x and give -6 the negative. So when you give it the negative, you change its sign. So the positive 3x turns to negative, the -6 turns to +6. Okay? And that's just a preference thing if you guys don't want to see a negative on the bottom of the fraction. Some teachers don't like it. Some teachers don't care. For me, it doesn't really matter to me. Okay? So in your 4th step, you're just going to officially write inverse function form. So since your function is called h of x, then you want to write that in inverse form. So you're going to write it with that -1 that looks like an exponent. So it's not really an exponent, but it's just a symbolism that pretty much says this is inverse form. Okay, or inverse of function h. And then depending on which form of the, I guess, the fraction that you put it in, you just write that fraction right in the back, so negative 3x plus 6 over 5. And you're done. That's the final answer. Okay, so that was one example of how to do inverses of functions. I'll do another example where the starting problem looks like this, yeah, where it's two fractions separated. So it's not going to be that big of a deal as far as differences that you're going to do, but it does give on a different appearance, and sometimes that confuses students. So your steps are going to be the exact same. First step is you take away the g of x, and you put a y there instead. So I'm going to call that step 1. So y equals 1/2 x minus 5 over 2. So it's a pretty simple first step, yeah? Simple second step also. Second step was, if you don't remember, switch places, right? So switch the x and the y. So where a y was formerly written, I'm going to write an x. Where the x was formerly written, I'm going to write a y. So 1/2 y minus 5 over 2. So keep this in mind now. Okay, when you switch letters, don't switch numbers. Yeah, don't take that 1/2, yeah, with it when you put the y on the other side. All right, just switch the letters. Yeah, leave the numbers in the places that they were at. Okay. All right. So next, solve for y. So we have two things attached to the y. We have a 1/2 attached to the y via multiplication. We have a negative 5 over 2 attached to the y via like adding and subtracting. So which one shall we get rid of first? Okay. And hopefully you said, let's get rid of the negative 5 over 2, because if you did, you are perfectly correct again. Good job. So we're going to add 5 over 2 to make this negative 5 over 2 go to the left. So add 5 over 2 on both sides. Okay. And then on the left side, we're going to have x plus 5 over 2. And on the right side, we have 1/2 y. Okay. So now here's the part where students say, oh yeah, since 1/2 is multiplied to the y, let's divide by 1/2. Yeah, you could do that, but then you'd have like the left side divided by 1/2, which visually will not look very pleasant. So therefore, I don't suggest we divide by we don't divide by half rather. I suggest we just multiply both sides by 2. Yeah, then the fractions on the right side would just cancel out. Okay, and the thing about the left side that you have to really be careful about is when you multiply on the left side, you got to multiply everybody by 2. Yeah, not just the 2 and the x multiplied together. You got to multiply everybody on that left side multiplied by 2. So I'm just going to write the 2 twice, just like that. Okay, so the right side is going to become my y, and let's see what the left side is going to become. Well, left side, first part is not that bad. 2 times x is 2x. And then the 2's here and here, right? They'll cancel out. Or if that doesn't make sense and you don't want to do that canceling out step because it's still kind of confusing for you, you can just say, okay, well, since we're multiplying a fraction to a whole number, you just go top times top. Yeah, you can think of 2 as being on the top because 2, if you turn it into a fraction, it's 2 over 1. So you can think of it as 2 times 5, which makes 10 over 2. Yeah? And eventually it's just going to become a 5. So I'll just write that in my next step. But I'm going to switch around the order. I'm going to bring the y to the right side, or left side rather. And I'm going to call this 2x plus 5. Okay? So that's step 3, solving for y. So we've done that task. And step 4 is just write inverse notation. Yeah? So since this function is called g, we're going to call it inverse of g. So I put that -1 looking symbol. Okay? Where it's looking like an exponent, but it's not really an exponent. And then we have it equal to step 3's answer, which is 2x plus 5. Okay, so step 3 and 4 are very similar in the senses as far as where you end up in step 3. Yeah, the ending result of when you solve for y ends up being what you do in step 4 as well. You just change out the y for inverse function notation. And that's it. You're done. So the answer that you submit will be pretty much what you see in step 4. Okay? All right. I hope you guys understood this, and yeah, have a good day. Bye-bye.